All right, we're going to talk about some veterans readiness and employment, specifically how to get approved. What do you have to do to get approved? I've already talked about this in some previous videos. I'm going to try to make it a little bit short, a little bit more concise, and I'm also going to add things that I didn't have in previous videos, specifically addressing some comments that I have gotten and just some information that I've received from the field regarding veterans readiness and employment. One thing specifically regarding veterans who already have a bachelor's or master's degree and they're going and trying to get approved for veterans readiness and employment, and I've been hearing a lot of them getting pushback from the VRC because they already have that higher education. So stay tuned. I'll show you exactly how to address that and how to get approved for veterans readiness and employment.
Oh, what a stroke of luck.
If you haven't checked out any of my other videos in the past regarding veterans readiness and employment, go to my channel, subscribe, check those out, and those are also going to kind of help you along the way as well. But specifically for this video, let's get into 3 things you can do to help yourself get approved for veterans readiness and employment. Primarily, the very first thing you have to do is just prepare. Prepare and get your plan ready. The day of the meeting, you need to come appropriately dressed, so professionally dressed, and come with your plan. What do you plan on using veterans readiness and employment for? Don't expect to go into the veterans readiness and employment meeting and they are going to tell you what you're going to do. You need to go in with a plan and tell them what you're going to do. So you need to be able to tell them why the current job you are in isn't working, or maybe you're unemployed. You tell them why you haven't been able to get a job, and what service-connected disability you have that's really giving you the struggle. Really explain what it is. What pain are you having? How much is it affecting your life? You need to paint that picture. Don't just say that I'm working in construction, I have a bad back, it hurts, I just can't do the job. Really paint the picture for them. Can you not sleep at night? Do you have to take a lot of pain pills? Really explain why that job, or why you haven't been able to get a job, why that is the case because of your service-connected disability. Really lay that out for them. And then you have to know what you are going to do, what you want to do with your life. I want to be a writer. Well, a writer, huh? I hear you've been using your paper not for writing, but for rolling doobies. Anybody? But seriously, know how you want to use the program. What do you want to use it for? If you want to get out of being a laborer in construction because of your bad back and you want to get into, say, construction management, well, you need to go to the Bureau of Labor Statistics and look up the future outlook for that job. What's the growth rate? What's the salary going to be? Why is this job not going to aggravate your service-connected disability? Why is it going to be something that's going to work for you in the future and not put you back in the current situation you're already in? Those are the first big things that you need to do, because that's going to help the VRC. It's going to make you look prepared, right? You're serious about this. You're not just casting out a wide net trying to get whatever benefits you can. You're actually serious about this. You're actually having pain. You've done your research. You know the outlook for the job. You know what job you want to get into. That's all good stuff. It looks good for you, and it lets them know that you're ready to do this. So that's number one, biggest thing. The second thing that you would be remiss if you didn't do is going in there with some regulations ready to go. So you can go to the 38 CFR. If you just go to Google and you type in Veterans Readiness and Employment 38 CFR, Charlie Foxtrot Romeo, and that should bring up the Code of Regulations for Veterans Readiness and Employment. It's going to be Title 38, Chapter 1, Part 21, and it's titled Veterans Readiness and Employment. You can bring that up and look through that. There are important regulations in there that are good for you to know going into your meeting. Off the top, one that's really good to know is just the purpose. What's the purpose of the program? Some VRCs may try to tell you that, yeah, this is an education program. Bullshit it is. It says right here at the top that it is to become employable and to obtain and maintain suitable employment. That is straight from Purposes 21.1-alpha. So that's one thing. If it were me, I would go in with that ready to go in case I need it. Some other things just off the top that I would definitely write down is go through and find the eligibility requirements and the eligibility criteria. Okay, so what can you be rated as? You can be a veteran that's 20% disabled, and then there's a list of criteria, or you can be 10% disabled and there's a list of criteria. What do you have to be within that criteria? What do you have to fulfill? So knowing that, knowing the eligibility and just the general requirements and what sort of benefits you can receive, also good things to know and good things to have written down. Another important thing, 21.33, the VA, your VRC, whoever you're going to the meeting with, they have a legal duty to assist you in obtaining evidence. Sounds like a pretty good thing to have written down and ready to go. Because if your VRC is one of those VRCs that is coming from this perspective of, trying to disprove you, this is a great one to just pull out and say, 21.33 says you have a legal duty to help me substantiate my claim, to help me be found approved for this program. Your duty's not to disapprove me, it's to help me get approved. Seems like a pretty good thing to know if it were me. Another thing that may or may not be a great thing to have is the definitions. There's a definition section, 21.35. It's good to have some of these definitions written down. What's an employment handicap? What is independent living? What exactly is a rehabilitation program? What is a vocational goal? It's good to have these definitions at least written down, because sometimes the VRC will try to twist and put their own definition into it. And then when they use their own definition, then suddenly it looks as if you're not eligible. You don't meet the requirements for this program. But if you know what the actual regulation says, what the law says, then it suddenly is a little more clear that, maybe you are actually eligible for this program. And one more specifically that I would definitely go in with it written down, that I have heard stories about, I've gotten comments about it, and it's in regards to when the VRC determines your employment handicap. And the regulation pertaining to this is 38 CFR. It'll be the same thing, and this is going to be 21.51. So when the VA determines if you have a vocational impairment, that is one step. Now the second step is getting them to say that you have not overcome your vocational impairment. Now here is where, if you have a bachelor's degree or a master's degree, where they're going to try to bite you. Because they may say, yeah, you do have a vocational impairment. I can see that you have some severe disabilities, but you've overcome those vocational impairments through your education and through your training. You have a bachelor's degree, so you can go out and get a job with that. Or you have a master's degree, you can go out and get a job with that. They will try to use that against you and say, they'll acknowledge that you do have the vocational impairment, but they'll say that you have overcome the vocational impairment. Well, if we read on down to Bravo here, it says the effects of impairment not overcome. And this is how you need to be found. Vocational impairment not overcome. It says this situation includes an individual who qualifies for a suitable job, but who does not obtain or keep the job for reasons beyond his or her control. Meaning, just because you have a bachelor's or master's degree does not mean that you're not qualified for this program. Nowhere in this regulation does it say if you have a bachelor's or master's degree, you're no longer qualified for this program. Let's say that you have been trying to get out of the job that you're in that's giving you pain, and you've been applying to this other job, but you can't get that job because you don't have the right education or training. Well, guess what? That means you can't obtain a suitable job at no fault of your own. And that says that right here in Determining Employment Handicap 2153. So if you have a bachelor's or a master's degree and you are applying for Veterans Readiness and Employment, write this one down, because I almost guarantee you that your VRC is going to try to pull this one out on you. They're going to try to say that, yes, you do have some vocational impairment, but you've overcome that through your education and training. But if you know the regulation, if you read it here, if you write it down, if you yell it from the rooftops, we all know that you still qualify if it's of no fault of your own that you cannot obtain a suitable job that suits you and does not exacerbate your service-connected disabilities. It says it right here, 21.51, Determining Employment Handicap, Part B. Read it, remember it, and love it. That was not an exhaustive list of the regulations that you should know. I encourage you to go through those yourself and just read through, skim through the regulation, and look at some stuff that you think might be useful. Write those down, just have them ready to go. So, we got do your research, come with a plan. Second, know your regulations. And third, and possibly one of the most important things, is you have to go in ready for a fight. I pray to God that you get a VRC that is a good VRC, is there to help you out. You know, they're not there to break the law for you. If you're not entitled to the benefits, you're just not. That's just how it goes. But if you actually are, I hope you get a good VRC that actually helps you. But you might not. And you need to go in there prepared, Mamba mentality. Go in there Mamba mentality. Like, you're going to eat this kid's lunch, and then you're going to give him the leftover dark licorice that nobody wanted, and you're going to force him to eat it and enjoy it. You stick your feet in the ground. If you have read through the regulation, you know you're entitled. You can explain it, and you're entitled to what the regulation says, not what the VRC says, and you believe that, then dig your feet into the ground and don't give up. Don't give up an inch, because they're going to try to push back. They're going to try to give you some bullshit excuse. Oh, you already have a bachelor's degree, or oh, this isn't an employment program. Bullshit. What does the regulation say? Dig your feet into the ground and don't be afraid to push back a little bit. Nothing's going to happen to you if you push back. It may be a little awkward, you may be sitting there for a second, but don't be afraid to push back. These are your benefits, and if you're entitled to them, you need to go get them. Don't let them tell you no. If you're entitled, that's really what it comes down to. If you're entitled, don't let them tell you no. But I hope they do. I hope it goes easy for you. And best of luck to everybody and getting approved for these bennies.